we start with you, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi there, everyone. Ben Phillips, currently at Happening. Many years in this industry, starting in recruitment, marketing, talent marketing, consumer marketing, culture transformation, leadership development in large companies, small companies, agency side, and in-house. Currently working for a tech company that does the digital experiences for within the betting and gaming industry. Nice to meet everyone.
Hello, everybody. I'm Nerida Rooney. So I am, although the accent doesn't sound it, I am Australian. I've been in TA for about 20 years now, in various different sectors. So I've worked in charities, I've worked in automotive, mining, banking, FMCG, and now working for Kier Group. So I lead on the employer brand, diversity inclusion within the recruitment space, and the strategic resourcing of the business.
Excellent.
Well, I guess it's my turn then. So, hi everybody, my name is Modiara, but you can call me Mo. I look after the employer brand at Boston Consulting Group, which is a consulting firm. I've spent the whole of my career in the recruiting and branding industry, and before I joined BCG, I, for example, worked at Amazon. At BCG, I look after their employer brand in 4 different continents, so it's quite interesting culturally. Yeah, and I'm very excited to be here, so let's go.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So as I said, we've got the Slido QR code on in the background. So we've got a couple of set questions that we'll run through, and then we'll open it up onto Slido. So we had a call last week, and we wanted to talk through. The first question that I've got is around the current challenges you are facing in the market at the moment. So whenever we talk about challenges, there's a number of challenges. Everyone got challenges in the talent attraction space? Yeah, lots of big nods. Nerida, maybe I can start with you. Like, what's the biggest challenge that you're currently facing in the market?
So I think for us, a big challenge for us is actually inspiring the next generation to want to be in construction. I think if we speak to students at the moment, what they're looking for when you say, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's footballers, it's teachers, it's doctors and YouTube stars. So, and throw in lawyers every now and again as well. So they're not actually thinking about what type of long-term careers there are in construction. We're doing lots of work actually with parents at the moment and teachers to really educate them about that long-term career. If anybody has children, careers within construction are, you can definitely have a long-term career. But I think what we're finding is parents just want to know what salaries can my child earn. And actually, that's usually the question that kids ask. They say, what money can I earn? So other big challenges are actually, as a supplier of the government. So we've got political challenges around funding. Are they going to invest in more schools, more hospitals, more prisons? And if they aren't, then obviously what do we do with that? So there's some challenges for us within the industry. And actually, unfortunately, lots of our smaller businesses or smaller companies that we support from a supply chain are going into administration. So there's lots of complexities within our industry at the moment.
Yeah, I can imagine. Ben, from your side, I know yours is probably more of a internal challenge around the sort of TA space. Do you want to talk us through a little bit?
Yeah, so I am 10 weeks roughly into a brand that is only 12 months old. So before we look at the external challenges, I think we need to fix things so we can win from the inside out. So top 3 challenges we're facing at the moment is a brand that was formed from 2 companies merging, lots of change, a bit of chaos, and settling a team and remotivating them and boosting morale through a time of intense change and unfortunately some headcount reduction. So getting the current employer branding and talent marketing team to buy into a future and motivate and run towards it. The internal challenge of a leadership team that believe talent marketing and employer branding can do certain things and not quite understanding the difference between what we control and what we drive, so the brand, versus what they want to achieve in terms of a reputation, which we can contribute towards, but we don't drive it. That's a bigger thing impacted by many other things. And also getting buy-in and people feeding into a strategy which just adds a bit more rigor to what we do, why we do it, and how we're going to measure it. So that's the internal piece. There will be some headwinds we face into. So I mentioned we're in the betting and gaming industry. We are the technology that runs it for the Superbet Group. So how do you change perceptions with people who are sitting on the fence about whether or not they want to work in that industry? We then have some more local challenges. So we're based out of Zagreb, very close-knit market. Everybody knows everybody. My colleague in the audience, Jack, has done a great job, a victim of their own success. Most people in that market know us. So if you want to attract more, we need to go outside of that country and start making Zagreb an interesting proposition to attract people maybe from other countries. And if we expand in places like Romania, where the Superbet brand doesn't have a great sentiment towards it, how can we influence that and start to change people's perception of a brand that has negative connotations and an industry that people may be quite nervous about? So internal and external challenges, current and future ones.
Yeah, really interesting. I know there's a lot of challenges, especially with that buy-in piece across every single business and how to get that buy-in. Modiara, from your side, what are the challenges that you're currently seeing, especially on a global level as well? So lots of different markets, lots of different candidate challenges that you're seeing.
Yeah, I can actually relate quite well with what you're saying in terms of scarcity. What we have as a consulting firm is that we receive loads and loads of applications, where we only actually hire maybe 1% of the people that apply. The challenge on the other end is that we are looking for passive candidates and to really engage with them coming from very specific niche industries. Within BCG, we also do a lot of research in terms of like workforce trends and what candidates actually want. And things that I'm looking at is, for example, what does a passive candidate want within the climate and sustainability industry, and how can I engage with them? So things I'm considering is, yes, obviously I need to offer them a job that is very, well paid and that offers a good work-life balance and it offers them a position to, grow as in leadership. But for me, it's more, how do I engage with them? So it's, for example, thinking through, how do I get in touch? And what we found is that things that I would normally do in recruitment marketing when it comes to running a campaign doesn't really work. It's more engaging with these people through their networks, through, friends, or occasionally a headhunter. And besides that, if we are then in touch with them, they want a very smooth, personalized process where automation is a part of that, but it should not be very visible because then it feels less personal. So I'm thinking through, how can I set up a candidate journey that connects with all these points and facilitate that then for passive candidates mostly.
Yeah, absolutely. So lots of challenges there. Hopefully they're resonating with a number of you. What I'd like to talk through is just some of the successes that you've had perhaps in recent times as well. So have you had any campaigns? Have you seen perhaps another organisation that's actually had some successes in the current market or sort of previous market, especially during COVID, for example, as well? So opening it up to whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I can go first. So some of the successes we've had from a TA space, we launched a campaign called This is Kier this year. So we launched that in a period where we knew there was going to be a lot of bank holidays, but we as a business sort of average between 1,000 and 1,500 vacancies at any one time. So we still needed to attract those people. So we launched a campaign called This is Kier, and essentially what it means is on a Monday, when you have conversations with your colleagues, the first thing we ask people is, how was your weekend? What did you get up to? And actually, I found that when I was having conversations with my team or with my managers, they love talking about themselves, shock, but actually their faces lit up because they were able to talk about things that they were passionate about. And I was genuinely interested in their passion. I wanted to know, did their little Johnny win his football match? Did Gracie have a good birthday party? It's those sorts of things that I was really interested in. So the campaign was launched and we had images that were shared all of social media. And there was an image of people in their hobby wear and people in their workwear. So for me, I'm a netballer. So outside of work, I took up netball to help me be able to de-stress out of work. When you're on the court, you're not thinking of anything else but pass me the ball. So it really helped. And actually, from a work-life balance, it really helped me switch off because I had to be there for the team. So I enjoyed being able to talk about that as part of the campaign. silly, I wore heels today and I've got a game tonight, so this is definitely going to cramp tonight.
And we won't mention the England-Australia final, shall we?
Oh yeah, 100%.
No, we won't mention that.
Yeah,
one.
we won't mention that. Yeah, I always do, but it's fine. And we won't talk about the Ashes. So for me, I was really inspired to learn about people. We had some of our senior leaders get involved as well. Our company secretary, she does ballet outside of work. Our CFO does wakeboarding. We've got a professional skateboarder in the business. So these sorts of things really helped us be able to showcase to candidates that the people that they're going to be joining are just like them. Yeah, they have these passions as well. And from an emerging talent point of view, something that we found, which is quite sad, but young people at the moment think that when they go to work out, so they're going to earn a living, they have to give up their passions. And that's really sad because you can absolutely still do it while working. And so that campaign's actually been really successful from an emerging talent point of view, but actually from candidates. And within that first launch month that we did, in a period where we had all of those bank holidays, we increased our applications by 98%, so almost 100%. And actually over the course of the campaign, which ran for about 3 months, we saw a huge trajectory in that quality of applications as well. So that's been really successful, and something that I would encourage everybody to think about is put yourself in a candidate's shoes. What do you want to see from the organisation that you're applying?
And what channels were you using to put that campaign out? Was it social, email, website?
So we did a lot of work internally to help build that momentum and get people involved. We use socials, so Facebook, LinkedIn. We actually use Glassdoor as well. That was really helpful for us. But actually, we went out to a lot of local schools and showcased what we were doing. We actually have a new careers site which is launching next week. Get onto it, everybody. Please have a look. Help with my SEO and Google Analytics, please. And we're able to use all of this material to be able to highlight our people on our new careers site, which I'm super excited about.
Excellent. Yeah, great campaign. And I think I've seen snippets of it here, there and everywhere, especially Paul's ones as well. So, no, it's brilliant. Do go and check it out. And any other success stories, Mo or Ben?
Yeah, for sure. We also launched a new campaign. Yesterday was actually a year ago, and the campaign was called Beyond is Where We Begin, which is a combination of trying to explain to people what consulting is, because we're now living in a day and age where a consulting job might not be the first job that people would go to, because they're also interested in tech and other, very exciting jobs that are out there. So we decided to build a campaign that is about Beyond is Where We Begin, showcasing the people that are working within a consulting firm. So I really resonate with what you're saying in terms of we should showcase that the people that are working somewhere are just like them. And for us, we also portray a lot of, kind of like personal stories from our employees. So hobbies or family life, etc. So that was a year ago. It was great. We saw an increase in career page visits, in apply clicks, in conversion ratio in general. So I'm very excited. And actually tonight we're going to go to the Employer Brand Management Award because we are apparently being recognized for our efforts. So very nice.
Best of luck on that one in that case. Yeah, excellent. And Ben, from your side, any sort of successes, either internal or external?
Yeah.
I think some of those internal stories are good ones as well.
It's absolutely too early within happening, as I said, 10 weeks in. And I'm always very conscious of these sexy, glamorous campaigns driving FOMO because you look around and you go, oh, we're not doing something and everyone else is way ahead of us. And I'm a big fan of just focusing on the basics. I think we get carried away in our space of looking at the new tool, the new TikTok trend, and jumping on a bandwagon. And if you've got the resources and the flexibility to do that, then great. But IBM, I think, I like to think, and Nick will back me up if he's still in the audience, I was quite key at actually saying, if you strip away everything, the one piece of content that is engaged with the most in our space is usually job ads. And if you look at most job ads that go to the market, a lot of them are in a dire state. And IBM, they were broken. And you think, oh, job ads, that's an easy job, easy to fix, just go and do some, polishing. But it actually became a bit of an industry because there's so many systems and so many stakeholders. And the differences between what you call them in the ATS versus what you call them externally and what some hiring manager wants to call them because they think it's a cool name. but applying some design thinking and saying, well, you want to call it this internally, but externally no one knows what the hell you're talking about. And using Google Trends and data to say you should be calling it this. So although it seems like a small thing, changing job ads and then enabling recruiters and hiring managers on how to write them well became a huge challenge and a huge project, which we drove in IBM. And early successes were looking very promising. So you start saying, well, if you change the title so they're SEO optimized, so that they're short enough that they will appear on the job post. So when you're marketing, people come, whether it's on the website or you boost it onto a job board, that it appears in top of rankings. Not the sexy side of talent marketing and attraction, but critically important. We were starting to see that people that applied to the quality of applications went up, and then those that were screened through to final interviews and offers went up. And you can't pin it specifically on all because of the job ads, but you could see in time, that's when we flicked a switch, and on all the graphs and the charts we were looking at, something positive happened to the quality of applications, those that applied that got to a certain level. So that was, again, not the most glamorous, but critically important. Sometimes it is just about going, let's just fix the foundations.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of challenges that people see is when they haven't got the fundamentals right. You can only build on a good sort of basis. I'm going to go through the construction world on that one. If you haven't got a good foundation, you can't build on top of it. So Josh Willows actually did a presentation for us a little while ago. We've got the recording. So if anyone wants that, it was all around how to optimize your job ads. And more than happy to share that. So just come and find me afterwards. How do you increase diverse talent attraction at the application stage, both in terms of gender and ethnicity, especially in an area that hasn't been diverse typically? So Nerida, I know you've done a lot of work in the diversity space, and construction is not very diverse typically. So can you talk through perhaps some of the big projects that you've done recently? That'd be great.
Yeah, I think look, diversity within the construction industry is tough, but the work that we're doing with some of our programs, so we have a few different programs which support it. So we have a program called Making Ground, which is our prison program. So we support people that are currently in prison. They work on our sites on release on temporary license. They're paid for that. It's put into a fund while they're in prison. Some of it goes to the Victim Support Fund, and then other goes into a pot so that when they leave prison, they have funds to be able to support themselves. And then, typically we hope to be able to give them an opportunity at the end of that as well for where their release location is. That really helps from a reoffending rate as well, because let's be honest, we don't want to have the prisons completely full of prisoners. We want them to be able to be rehabilitated. So that really helps from a diversity point of view. But also there's some other really great programs that we've had with RefuAid, which is our refugee program, and 10,000 Black Interns was absolutely phenomenal for us this year as well. So if you haven't looked at those, I think they're rebranding to 10,000 Interns, because they have also 10,000 able interns as well. But that's really, really great at being able to diversify your talent pool. But actually, even the campaigns that we did with This Is Kier, it's again just showcasing who are the people that are employed in that business. Write blogs about everybody. People like talking about themselves. Write a blog about them. And these campaigns that we've run, construction has no money. Yeah, we don't have huge budgets to do anything. This Is Kier we did on zero money. I think we spent £100 on a battery camera. So, those sorts of things you can do on a shoestring budget. So, yeah, I think you just need to start showcasing your people in every aspect. And then more people will start joining the organization that reflect who you want to attract. Attraction is really key from an application point of view.
Yeah. Mo, do you want to talk through some of the sort of projects that you've been involved in or you've seen throughout your career as well?
Yeah, sure. I think I would just start with where I'm currently working. You wouldn't expect, but we also have challenges when it comes to retaining a certain female population within the firm, especially because a consultant job, as we all know, is hard work. And at one point, you just want to have maybe a family and have a little bit more of a work-life balance than what you would do when you're in your younger years in your career. So we have a lot of different initiatives focused on women, for example, a Women MBA fellowship or women events to just kind of show that it is possible to work in a consulting firm and have a life and be a mother and do all of that at the same time. So that's one thing. We also do a lot in terms of diversity and ethical backgrounds, because yeah, we are a very diverse company. We have offices in lots of different countries, but we also have a background of hiring from Ivy League schools. And if you always focus on Ivy League schools, you always get a certain population in. So we invest a lot in being visible within different ethnical and cultural groups, I would say. We are also doing stuff in the LGBTQ plus space, which I'm very proud of. So yeah, plenty.
Yeah, excellent. Anything from your side, Ben, on the sort of diverse applications, even just like starting from the sort of bottom, those foundation pieces?
Yeah, well, the conversations have begun happening, and it's interesting. As with everything, context is really important. And bearing in mind, we are a Zagreb-based head office in the Baltics, and in London, you live in a bubble where you think, we're at the forefront of this challenge, crucially important challenge. We're a very cosmopolitan geography, but then you go somewhere else like Zagreb or Romania, and it's quite different. They're not as necessarily as advanced as we are. So the conversation we're having before we do any ways of attracting is just before we start attracting people, do we have the current culture where they will be able to thrive? So for example, if you're looking at gender diversity, you start with data, so you don't get someone say, we want 50% females in our business. Because is that even feasible? Is that realistic compared to the industry you're in? So tech, if you go on LinkedIn, look at male-female diversity, it's roughly 75-25% in favor of males. You then apply the betting gaming industry on top of that, and that drops, I think, for female representation to the mid-teens. So like with any strategy, what are you trying to achieve that's realistic before you set yourself up for failure? So we're starting to weave that into the conversation. If we are going to aim for this, this is at market averages. Speaking last week to an ambassador of the LGBTQ community, and we've got a big company festival coming up in a couple of weeks. It's lots of talks happening, and he said, look, it's like an unconference setup. So he wants to do a 15-minute chat. He said, I tell you what will be really telling, if we put this talk on the agenda and see who shows up and see if there's an appetite for it before we start talking about it at a more strategic level. So it's baby steps. So I think we're doing right by the foundations before jumping on a bandwagon where our context may not be suitable for that. And then we'll see where we go from there. In IBM, they did it very well. Lots of business resource groups. Don't know why they call it BRGs. It just be called supportive communities, but for all types of diversity, a very broad spectrum, as you'd imagine with IBM. And they would be lots of communication around it, lots of promotion around it, both internally and externally, so that people outside the business can see more people inside the business, just like me, which is a very important element to when you're trying to attract people, because that's what draws them in, right? Am I going to be able to work with people who are like me, where I'm accepted, where I can build my tribe and be, my internal communities? So that's where IBM would do it very well.
Yeah, amazing. So we've got quite a few questions that I'm going to try and run through as many as we can. So we'll maybe not ask everyone questions, but if you've got a urging need to respond, then feel free. So a really great question. What do you think candidates are prioritizing from businesses right now? So aside from salary, what are you seeing in the biggest conversations or the biggest questions that are coming up?
In tech?
In tech, go for it.
So in tech, it's typically the latest languages, technology, the ability to have an impact on those, very important for programmers and developers.
Yep.
And I'm running sessions just to reassess the current EVP to see if it still works based on all the changes over the last year. Developers aren't backwards in coming forwards. It's money.
Yeah.
I know you said don't talk about money, but
Yep.
in that context,
That's their most important.
Not the most important, but it's definitely up there in their top 5.
Yeah.
And flexibility of perks and benefits.
Yeah.
Being treated like an adult, having ownership and accountability and being able to make an impact in an environment where it's flexible.
Yeah.
They can work where they want, when they want, how they want.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you seeing that as well, Mo and Nerida?
Yeah. Long story short, money, work-life balance / health benefits, and then the possibility to attain a leadership position.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same, yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So the next question's around, if quantity of applications isn't a challenge, how do you make sure you're getting the quality of applicants. So, I mean, whether you've got enough or not enough, surely you just want the best quality in any case. So how do you ensure quality applications?
I feel that this might be a question directly to me. I think what I do is segment my candidates into different groups and make sure that I facilitate candidate journeys for, specific audiences, because I believe that that basically helps me to filter through the volume and to make sure that I'm visible within the right group at the right moment on the right channel.
Yeah.
Basically. So really think it through on a more segmented level.
And do you, once someone sort of come through, do you then sort of track them throughout their career and see who's sort of good hires? Is that for the where they've come from the different sort of job boards or etc.? Is that something that you guys do, or?
In an ideal world, yes. Currently, very manually.
Yep.
But I really would love to go that far, as in where does this person come from up to the point that we hire them and how their journey proceeds, and then eventually when they leave the company.
Yeah, I mean, Graham talked about it quite eloquently before with Karafi's talk, but I think if we could do more at actually articulating to our stakeholders what quality looks like, I think that goes a long way from a TA space. Often I find that sometimes who we think is quality, the hiring manager doesn't think is quality, but that's just a miscommunication between the expectation of what the hiring manager puts on a job description versus what they have in their head. And that can be a bit of a challenge. So I think sometimes you actually only find out who the quality people are by those that are able to work effectively with their stakeholders and their managers, because just because somebody wasn't a good hire doesn't mean that they weren't right for the business, doesn't mean that they weren't right for that role. It just means that they weren't right for that setup as well. So there's more intricacies with that.
Yeah. Excellent. So the next question, Ben, I'm going to pose it to you. It's around educating the internal stakeholders. So I know you're going through that process at the moment, especially as a young company as well. So how do you educate the internal stakeholders on the challenges, risks and changes they might need to consider in order to, especially in the current market as well, and to progress?
Great question. So what I'm doing at the moment is a lot of conversation, which only gets you so far. And when you're dealing with a tech engineer audience who are usually very skeptical and very data driven, the more data you can provide, the better. And not from HR sources or talent marketing sources, because they don't give a shit. It has to become from a credible source that they are familiar with. Harvard Business Review, McKinsey, anything like that that talks about why you need to change, why it's important, the impact of, talking about culture and EVP, why is it important, and the benefits to productivity and retention. I can sit there and say it, or I can say, look at this Harvard Business Review, and then you get their attention. And then it's repetition ad nauseum, probably to the point of frustration and annoyance. It's like, oh, bloody hell, not you again. Okay, you've beaten me to submission. But there is an element of that. It's that if anyone's been a recruitment consultant, you've done sales training or you do marketing, I think the stat used to be, you've got to contact someone 7 times before they even remember your name. And it's the same principle. You've got to say the same things. And when you're getting sick to death of it and bored of it, again, apply design thinking, put yourself in the recipient's shoes. They may have heard it 6 times, but they haven't remembered it. So it's that consistency, backed with data, and backing your own expertise as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And actually, another question that's come through is around what metrics do you use to inform your talent attraction strategy? So I know you've mentioned that's probably more the internal stakeholders, but is there anywhere that you go to get that sort of TA sort of data, or do you use your own insights, your own ATS perhaps? What do you guys use?
I mean, at the moment, if anybody's using Taleo, you'll understand the frustration of data from Taleo. So thankfully, next week we're moving to a new system. So at the moment, our data, I'm ashamed to say, is a lot of it is manual. And it relies on us getting the details from our recruiters or our business partners in another manual way. And they're getting more data from the HR business partners or the business in a manual way. So I think, moving forward, we'll definitely be able to get a lot more data and metrics from our new system, which I'm super excited about. But I think sometimes in TA, we think that the data that you need is things like time to hire, cost per hire. They're the things that we think that our stakeholders want to know. But actually what they want to know is the metric behind the quality of that hire and how that hire has impacted the bottom line. How has that hire impacted their business? And I don't think we do that enough in TA. So we need to work through a metric on how we can articulate that to senior stakeholders and the board so that they can really understand the true value of what we do in TA.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I have something to add, I feel. Throughout my whole career, especially when I was focusing on employer brand, I always had the struggle to kind of show the added value of employer branding, because it's not as in recruiting if you just deliver the hire and you're like, okay, well, that's actually, I'm doing a good job, right? So what I've been doing over the last couple of years is basically building my own dashboard and my own journey, where I pulled in different metrics from, let's say our CRM or marketing metrics, from the very basic clicks and impressions up to our ATS system, where I then pull all the different data from our career pages, and then I basically combine all of them to showcase, okay, if you put something in at the top of the funnel, then something like this will come out, and try to kind of segment that and play around with that to, show the added value that we have, even if we are not delivering hires directly from an employer branding point of view.
Yeah, it's a really tricky one on that one. So, okay, great. I'm going to move into social media. So the actual question has been around, have you tried social media? I know that LinkedIn, everyone uses LinkedIn, and that is a social tool, but perhaps we can just talk through some of the social channels that you've used that have been effective for different campaigns and where you've seen different things work. Mo, I'm happy to go to you first.
Oh, social media.
A nice small question.
Yeah, small question, big answer. Okay, which way are we going to go? I think there are a few things, right? Social media, it's everywhere and everybody's using it. And we should always keep in mind that candidates are looking at these channels. So yes, you have to be there. And if you don't have the resources to do this very broadly, then just make sure that you have a baseline out there. And then when it comes to the type of channels, I kind of try to play around with the different things that are coming up. So for example, TikTok, I thought, even though Ben might disagree,
If your audience is there, then use it.
I thought, let's give it a try,
Yeah.
see how that converts, and be kind of like going through the different things that are relevant for our audiences and just playing around with it.
Yeah. So TikTok perhaps for the C-suite roles is not going to work, but for maybe the early careers, yeah, exactly. Nerida, have you seen success in any sort of social channels that you've used recently?
Yeah, I think, look, I think LinkedIn charge a lot of money. We all know that, but they definitely are able to provide some really great metrics around some successes that we've had. So we've actually been on a bit of a journey with our socials. So with LinkedIn, for example, we used to only ever talk about our project wins, which was super beige. Nobody wants to talk about, this project costs this much money and this is what we've built for the community. It's great for those people that may want to, or already in the industry, or who are, looking for a new job, but actually it can be quite beige. So a lot of our content has moved around to be people focused, as you would expect, and also talking about the benefits on offer in the industry. We have had actually, bizarrely, some great success on Facebook. I think we put that down for a while thinking, that nobody's using that as much anymore, but we've definitely had some success from that. I did try TikTok as well. I felt a little, this is going to sound awful.
For you or
for me, I tried it for the business because I was trying to see if it would work and attract that sort of emerging talent space. I'm almost 40. I felt very weird being on that platform, but I did have a lot of people contact me afterwards from LinkedIn. So obviously it worked for what we were trying to do. But yeah, I think if you're comfortable in that space, then it will absolutely show.
Yeah.
I'm
Are
conscious.
you on TikTok, Ben?
Yeah, well, my kids are,
Yeah.
so I do it vicariously.
TikTok scroll.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk about this at a macro level, and I've got to be conscious that I don't go off on one because I get quite passionate about this. And it links to the measurement question earlier. And I think with all of this, the Einstein quote, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll always think it's stupid. And I think that's what the trap we could fall into if we're not savvy enough. So you set your strategy. What do you measure? Well, what are you trying to achieve? Then you measure it. If you know, whether you're a fan of the funnel analogy, I know it's outdated and people don't move in a linear, but what are you trying to achieve? Is it awareness? Then measure that. And if it's awareness and you're using social media organically, maybe it might work. But you may be able to relate to this. A lot of you do stuff on social media, on LinkedIn, and you go, yay, our engagement metrics are through the roof. Everyone's liking and commenting and putting hearts. Then you go into the detail and it's all your current employees.
Yeah.
And you think, oh shit, well, we need to attract a new audience. It's great for an internal comms piece. And then what people do is shoehorn that metric into their strategies and go, well, that's what it's doing. So let's say that's what we set out to do. If it's a lower funnel strategy and it's conversions, then you need paid social. And it's just knowing the right tool for the right strategy and how to measure it, both in terms of content performance, but also the cost of that. Effectiveness, did we get likes, growth, clicks? And then efficiency, how much do we have to pay for that likes, clicks, applications, etc. So it's a huge subject, which I wish we had more time to talk about.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are nearly out of time. So I'm sure if anyone has got any questions for any of our panelists, I think you're hanging around for a little bit at least.
Yeah,
so
fine.
please do go find them, maybe buy them a drink and they'll give you all their secrets. But I would like to end just on one final question to each of you. So the talent attraction space is a tricky one. And we know it's challenging, especially at the moment. What would be your top piece of advice to everyone in the audience here today?
So, I think for me it would just be start small. Don't feel like you have to take over the world straight away. Find something that you're hoping to achieve. Start small. Be amazing at that, and then grow that out. Because I think, that there is so much to go at. You don't have to go at all.
Yeah.
I would say let's start seeing recruitment or kind of the recruitment process as a personal journey. Because we're all sitting here today, you look around, we have all these vendors because we're looking at recruiting as a process and kind of connecting different tools and making it more efficient and better. While all the research basically shows that candidates make decisions based on how they experience that journey and the interactions that they have. So let's bring it back and yes, use technology, but be a little bit more personal and just consider that you're talking to a person that is making a life decision when it comes to finding a job. So I would say,
Great.
All of that, and also for me, it's language is very important and very powerful. I could lob a grenade into this audience and say, what's an EVP? And we could debate here for hours because people have different definitions. What's employer brand? What's employer reputation? It doesn't matter, but I think internally you and your leadership have to align on a common definition. It's not about being dogmatic and saying it is this. It's saying, what do we agree that it's going to be for us? Because where things often get messy is when someone's talking about branding and you're talking about branding, but you're talking about very different things. And you go off in different directions and your stakeholders then get upset because they're expecting X and you turn up with B. And they're like, this isn't what we discussed and what you said you were going to do. So the common language and alignment with leadership on what that is and what you're going to set out to do.
Amazing. That is it for this panel discussion. I hope you all took something from it. As I said, please do feel free to reach out to the panelists either today or online. I know they're more than welcome any questions or conversations. So thank you for joining. Big round of applause to the panelists.